Hey friends, today we're going to be talking about high leverage skills. Now before we dive into it too much, I want to talk about what skills mean to me. To me, a skill is something that you build over time. And of course, if you are talented, you can build this skill a lot faster than others. But regardless to say, you will be able to cap off on how proficient you are in a skill. This is the popular idea of 10,000 hours will kind of get you to that proficiency or mastery level. But really what I want to be talking about in this video is the type of skills that you should be working on to build leverage. To me, finding the skills that give you leverage is the ultimate challenge. Leverage is being able to do something or possess a skill that not many other people do, and it's super valuable. So you might look at today's economy and really the market in general. What are the type of skills that are heavily in demand? Well, the first thing is that you might think of the top professions like doctors, lawyers, programmers, nurses, things like that. But let's think about the skills underneath each of those professions. For most of these professions, really the skills underneath are being able to read and write proficiently. For doctors, you're going to be reading charts. For lawyers, you're going to have to interpret the law. For programmers, you're going to be looking through code and documentation. And so to me, with these professions, these are more niche skills that kind of build on top of the skill that you should be working on. And of course, the more that you work on these skills, the better you become. But there's going to be certain skills in each of these professions or niches that are kind of unique to it. Like for programming, you're going to have to learn a syntax in a specific language to be able to have the computer interpret what you want. But what if you're a surgeon? You might have to know how to do a certain type of stitch or a certain procedure and follow steps really closely. So a lot of these things are just kind of boiling it down to the fundamental skill that you can work on today. You can always work on reading, writing, following a process or creating a process, coming up with your own system, things like that will help you build those high leverage skills. One of the most important skills, in my opinion, is the idea of being able to teach yourself. And what I mean by teaching yourself is really to have that autonomy and be able to come up with some type of answer yourself. Some people are very deliberate about this. For medical students, you might use like a system like Anki to help you with flashcards and memorizing. For programmers, you might go on Stack Overflow or various documentation sites to really understand the APIs you're using. And so at the end of the day, what's really important is to kind of understand that underlying system of what works best for your profession and really try to find what works best for you to learn those high leverage skills. So if something like Anki works for you and you're a medical student, use it. We kind of talked about the idea of what a high leverage skill is, but let's dive a little bit deeper into it. There's a second part to me that kind of gives you leverage with a skill, and that is the idea of being able to make good decisions. So making a good decision with a skill is basically all of the work that went into it to help you make a well-formed decision. So if you went to school for computer science, for example, and you wanted to build a product from the ground up, you would be able to make technical choices that were really sound. And of course, that is a lot of leverage because now you don't have to struggle your way through it. But what is most important, in my opinion, is that you can come up with a decision yourself. We talked about autonomy a little bit before, but let's dive into it even further. A skill that gives you even more leverage is an autonomous one. In other words, that skill can more or less make you money, make you smarter, or provide you some type of value while you sleep or while you're not working on it. A lot of knowledge work, for example, is very autonomous. In other words, we're always working with our subconscious to kind of find a solution or make a decision. This is kind of the idea of having a shower thought, where you're kind of working through a problem and then all of a sudden you take a shower and you find a solution. But you can also have more practical things that are more autonomous, such as using things like coding to automate things that are very repetitive. And so like this type of skill is more or less letting robots do the work for you, but you're still making all of those decisions. So if you were to ask me what are the top skills that kind of give you leverage in the world, I would tell you this. Number 1 and number 2 are going to be reading and writing. Being able to comprehend information quickly is a superpower, and being able to understand complex ideas is even more so. With writing, on the other hand, you can actually be able to put it in your own words and share it or teach others. Number 3 to me is decision making. If you can be effective with making decisions, it's going to help you so much in life. That is not to say that you just kind of sit and wait for the perfect decision to be made, but rather you are more deliberate of just making a decision in the first place. You are not always going to make the best decision, and facing that and being able to learn from that is a huge skill. Number 4 to me is learning a skill that kind of gives you more autonomy. To me, that is going to be programming or coding. I find this skill to be kind of a combination of the first 3. First, it can take instructions in and be able to interpret them. Next, with those instructions, it can take an action or do something repetitive. And third, it can make a decision every single time for you. And so the ability to code allows you to kind of put all 3 of those skills into action. In fact, you can see a lot of different people making apps that more or less are just a combination of those 3 skills. But there's always going to be more skills that build leverage for you. Like being good with finance is always a great thing. Being able to interpret data with some type of technical analysis is a really solid skill. Being able to create things with your hands and tools is always going to be a skill too. But in my opinion, when it comes down to the skills that give you the most leverage, they're all in here. In other words, they're knowledge work skills. Sometimes it's hard to put in words of what those actually mean. I kind of went over a few of them already. But if you work on those type of skills every single day, you're going to make and live a happier life. You're going to be able to automate the things you don't want to be doing. You're going to be able to land a job or build your own business with those skills. And you're going to be able to create value and generate your own wealth with them. Let me know what type of skills that you think are important in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. But that will do it for me this week. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next week.